Hey guys, welcome back. Today I decided to share 8 common makeup mistakes that age you. I wanted to do this and showcase what not to do and what to do to look more natural and youthful. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'm gonna keep this intro super short so we can get started. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you're new and hit that notification bell. All right, let's get into it. Mistake number 1 is not prepping your skin. I feel like a lot of people skip this step and foundation, concealer, highlight, contour, all of that stuff just seems like it's sitting on top of the skin. So I'm gonna show you this side prepped and this side not prepped. So I already have my moisturizer on from this morning, but I'm gonna go ahead and take an extra step in prepping my skin. So I'll be using a hydrating primer. This one's the Victoria Beckham one, but you can use any hydrating primer. So I'm just gonna apply this on one side. Look at how healthy my skin already looks, and this is really gonna help the foundation stick and not feel like it's sitting on top of the skin. Another way I like to prep my skin is by using a pore minimizing primer where I have larger pores. This really helps minimize the larger pores, or at least the appearance of larger pores. Now I'm gonna go ahead and apply foundation all over my skin. I'll be using my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk in 6.5. This is all part of step 1, so it's a little long, but bear with me. All the rest are gonna be a lot shorter, but I feel like base is so important. What you apply your foundation with is also very important, so do apply your foundation with a kabuki brush and don't apply it with a straight brush like this, because this is gonna leave streaks on the skin, whereas this is really gonna buff it in. Another thing that you can do is use a sponge. Obviously, sponges are amazing. They are a little bit more time consuming, but they give you even a better result than a kabuki brush. So as you can see, I'm using circular motions to really get this into my skin. Always take it down to your neck so that everything matches seamlessly. All right, now I'm gonna use this brush and apply this directly on my skin. Already it looks so heavy because I can't buff it in with a brush like this. So when it comes to your concealer, what you want to do is use a cream concealer and apply it directly under your eyes, but you don't want it to be super, super high where you're touching your lash line, because that's when a lot of creasing happens. A lot of times mascaras run because your concealer mixes in with your mascara. So for the sake of keeping things consistent, I'm just going to go ahead and use my kabuki brush and really buff this in. And I'm also lightly going over my eyelid. So what you don't want to do is apply a heavy concealer and also apply it too high up. So you don't want the concealer to go all the way up like this. So I'm going to get a little closer so you guys can see the difference, but as you can see, there's a lot of creasing happening on this side. Also, again, it seems like the foundation is just sitting on top of my skin, whereas this side just looks a lot more seamless and blended in. And the under eyes definitely look a lot more natural because I was able to buff it in with the brush and not apply too much product so that it doesn't really settle in between lines. Moving on to number 2, I wanted to highlight this even though it's part of the base because I think it's so important. When it comes to setting your face, do use a translucent powder and a fluffy brush, and don't use a compact sort of foundation powder like this, because this is just going to give you, again, more coverage. It's going to make your skin look cakey and heavy. Oh my gosh, it's already looking so patchy, and I'm not even trying to make this look bad. So right off the bat, as you can see, this lost luminosity, there's no glow, it just doesn't look skin-like, whereas this still has that natural skin-like finish. So I'm gonna show you how to properly set your face. So you wanna remember where your skin gets oily throughout the day and just set those areas. So for me, it's under my eyes, and I think most people can agree that under the eyes and the T-zone is where you get oily. So as you can see, there's still skin-like luminosity happening, but now this just looks mattified and pressed in so that it does last throughout the day. Number 3, when it comes to contour, I recommend using a cream bronzer because I feel like this is just gonna look more seamless and more skin-like versus a powder. So I'm gonna use this one right here, which is by Huda Beauty, and it's in the shade Fair. So another thing to keep in mind is your bronzer should be about 2 to 3 shades darker than your skin. 3 is stretching it a little bit, but you can go up to 3, but I wouldn't go any more than that because that's when it looks really, really harsh on the skin. I'm gonna use the same kabuki brush and apply this on the hollows of my cheeks and then just blend it up. That's the only way I feel that the bronzer looks really natural and seamless. So I'm also gonna apply this on my jawline and a little on my forehead. This is really gonna help give it that sun-kissed glow. By the way, this brush that I'm using is an Urban Decay brush, and it's called Diffusing Highlighter Brush. But I use it for foundation and contouring. I think it's a great one. Okay, now I'm gonna show you what not to do. Don't use a pressed powder bronzer like this one, because no matter what you do, it's still gonna look really harsh. Also, don't use a really dense brush like this one, because again, it's gonna create harsh lines. So if you are gonna use powder bronzers, just make sure to use a fluffy brush and take your time to really blend it in. So I'm gonna directly apply this on the hollows of my cheeks and blend it. It's just powdery, it's harsh, it's dark, whereas this one is just luminous, skin-like, just very natural. Number 4, we're gonna talk about blush, which is my favorite topic, especially recently. So I personally have larger pores around this area, and again, most of us also do. So what you want to do is use a pore minimizing blush. I'm gonna go ahead and use my Persona Cosmetics blush in Georgia, and this was formulated specifically for textured skin. So if you have larger pores, it's perfect. It's also really important to use a really fluffy brush. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my Bobbi Brown fluffy brush. Get some product, smile, and apply this on the apples of the cheeks. So this blush is matte but not flat, so as you can see, you can still see sort of that glow on my skin. Once I apply my blush, I'll go back to my kabuki brush sometimes and just again diffuse any harshness that I might see. I feel like this is just a really good way to buff it in and kind of melt it into your foundation and concealer, so everything just cohesively blends together. Okay, so what you don't want to do is use a shimmery blush and a dense brush like this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what it could look like if you apply this. First of all, it's a little patchy, so as you can see, it's not really looking that great. It just is not a good look. You can really see the larger pores popping out. It's just really harsh. I mean, no matter how much you blend this, it's just too much. Moving on to number 5, and that is brows. And again, this is just one of my favorites because brows can really make your look either super harsh or super natural. So there's a little rule that I like to follow when it comes to choosing the right color for your brows. If you're a brunette, choose a brow pencil that's 2 shades lighter than your hair color. And if you're a blonde, choose a brow pencil that's 2 shades darker than your hair color. This is gonna give you the most natural finish. I'll show you what not to do first. I'm gonna use a brow pencil like this, which is more of a liquid finish. And I love this if it's in the right shade, but as you can see, this is quite dark. So I will show you what it can do if you do it. Even if you do it very lightly, it can just make your look super harsh. Another thing you don't want to do with brows is create a straight line, which I see a lot. Okay, whoa, I look so crazy right now. Let's say you do this and you think you can diffuse it with a pencil. No matter what you do, it's still gonna look super harsh. What you want to do is, again, use a product that's a little bit lighter than your natural hair color. You don't want to create harsh lines, you just want to fill in the sparse areas. And when you get to the inner corners, you just want to create light strokes, and you want the strokes to be in the direction that the hair is growing. As you can tell, it just still looks so much more natural and feathery, so definitely try to take your time when it comes to the brows because I feel like it really can make or break the look. Number 6 is eyeshadows. So when it comes to eyeshadow, if you want to create more of a youthful look, stick to either mattes or creams. So I'll show you what it looks like with matte eyeshadows because I feel like most people use powder, including myself. I'm going to use the Persona Cosmetics Identity 2 palette to demonstrate both sides. So you want to pick up a shade that's about 2 to 3 shades darker than your skin color. And again, you want to make sure that it's matte and you want to apply this on your crease. I feel like most people want to lift their eye open and kind of elongate it. So this is a step that I feel is pretty universal. So do apply it with a fluffy brush and sort of apply and blend at the same time. So as you can see, I went a little bit above my fold. So this is just going to lift my eye. And when it comes to the outer corners, you want to always extend the shadow out and feather it towards your brow. So what you don't want to do is use a shimmery shadow like this and apply it on the crease. First of all, look at that creasing on my eyelid. So you never want to leave it harsh. You know, this is a little too harsh, but we'll just go ahead and blend it because I feel like most people would blend it a little more than this. So I'm going to look straight. As you can see, this is a lot lifted and more, of course, more natural, but this is just you can really see the fold. It's almost like I'm highlighting that. Even if I use the lighter shade, which I probably should have. So let's try to lighten that so we can really see what I'm talking about. So as you can see, even if I lighten the shadow, it doesn't matter because shimmer just accentuates fine lines and heavy folds and hooded eyes. So you wanna stay away from shimmers as much as you can. And if you really, really wanna use shimmer, this is where you can apply it. I'm gonna use Unique and mix a little bit of Honest. I'm just gonna apply this on the inner corners of my eyes. And if I accidentally get the shimmer up to my crease, I'll go back to my matte color and really diffuse that. So I'm just gonna apply shimmer all over on this side. Another thing you wanna avoid is dragging your eyeshadow down because again, this is just gonna create more of a droopy look. So you always want your eyeshadow to go up and almost like flicker up and blend it towards the brow bone. So same thing applies to the bottom lash line. Use a pencil brush, apply the color on the bottom lash line, and then just blend it upwards. And remember, less is more because you can always add. It's always good to have a fluffy, clean brush on hand so that you can always just go back in and blend any harsh edges. So what you want to avoid is using too dark of a color, again, too many shimmers, and just creating harsh lines. All right, moving on to number 7, it is eyeliners. Another tip is when using a pencil liner, definitely use a brown shade or even a dark gray because it's gonna be a lot softer than black, therefore it's gonna be less harsh. I'm using the Persona Cosmetics liner in brown, and I'm gonna apply this on my inner rim. Another tip when applying liner on the top lash line is to just focus on the outer corners. You don't necessarily need to bring the liner all the way in because again, that can make it look a little bit more harsh. So just focus on the outer corners and we'll blend it in. So once I apply the liner, I pick up a brush and really just diffuse it upwards. So you can also do this with a brown shadow. So I'll show you what it would look like if you were to do that. I'm just picking up a little bit of a brown shadow and kind of just going over that. So as you can see, the liner looks very lived in almost, very natural and kind of diffused. So I will show you what it would look like if I were to just use a liquid liner. It's very time consuming and very messy. I'm just gonna pop on some mascara and we'll move on to the last step, which is lips. This wasn't part of my original tips, but I will say if you wanna avoid mascara running, try to not apply mascara on your bottom lashes because that'll definitely help. Last step is lip liner. So when it comes to lip liner, try to create small strokes versus one straight line. And you always wanna bring your liner up a little bit into your lips. So what you don't want to do is this. So see how this side looks a lot more natural than this side? So I think feathery strokes and just going a tiny bit over your lip versus like this. I'm just going to fill this in with a lipstick. And that's it. The look is finished. I didn't want to talk about highlighter just because I feel like it's one of those things that you can use liquid or powder as long as you focus on the high points of the cheeks and don't focus on any other areas that you may have imperfections. I mostly use powder, as you guys know. I use Zuma mostly for my highlighter. If you have fine lines and things that you want to avoid, maybe liquid and very, very fine shimmers would be better, but I'll just show you a little bit with a highlighter that's powder. So I would just apply it on the high points of my cheeks, just like that. Maybe a little on the chin, but that's about it. I would avoid, again, this area because I feel like most people just kind of do this and you see all of the imperfections just are so much more highlighted than on this side. This just looks diffused. I mean, I still have those larger pores and scars and things like that, but it's much more diffused than this side. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. Even if it was just one thing, let me know if you took anything away from the video down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell on your way out. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys. I think it's so important. I wanted it to be its own, where you tend to get and where you want to set the, what?